call the Coast Guard. Search and rescue, please. What?
Do that again. My hands have some moisture on my bottle.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We have spent the last couple of weeks trying not to show you non-stop grinding, which is kind of what we've been doing within the confines of living on the boat. This is the grinding episode you have wanted or dreaded or avoided. So if you aren't interested in seeing a lot of grinding and want to skip this video, we totally get it. We'll see you next week. If you want to see us suffer miserably through hours and hours and days of grinding, you're in luck. This one's for you. We are not on the boat right now, as is painfully obvious. This is boy, you really don't appreciate a nice boat until you get into a really small, not great rental RV. Why are we in an RV, Misha?
We debated for a while and finally made the decision to go ahead and rent an RV. It gets us off the boat for about a week while we finish grinding out the bilges. So it was just getting too difficult to live on board and set up and grind and tear down and try and live in that mess every day with the dogs and prepping meals, and everything was pretty complicated, and we weren't really getting a lot done every day. So we were looking at the probability of staying in the boatyard another month or renting an RV for a week, staying in an RV park and finishing grinding out, and then move back onto the boat after that. It's an expense we can't really afford, but we are finding a way. So this is where I am now. I'm in the RV, and we are headed up to the RV park in St. Augustine. We drove down to Fort Pierce to pick up the RV because it was cheaper there. And we're headed to the RV park now. We're going to get situated and go pick up the dogs and get some dinner. And it's been a long day already, and it's nowhere close to being done. So I'm sure we're going to sleep great tonight. And if, in case you haven't noticed, we're using our headsets again. We haven't had a chance to use our headsets on the boat. We haven't needed to. But Cade is behind me in the car because we had to take the car to pick up the RV. So we're both on the road right now, and he is behind me. And we're talking to each other on the headsets while we drive. Pretty cool.
And if you're wondering, why an RV? We have 4 dogs. Everybody knows that. Try and rent an Airbnb with 4 dogs. Try and rent a VRBO with 4 dogs. Saved a lot of money. It's very tight, but it is accommodations. And it got the dogs and us off the boat. So we cannot afford to do this for very long, but that really lit a fire underneath us to get it going.
I will say it's a good thing that we rented the RV, because the progress that we have made in the last 4 days since we've been in the RV has been more than we would have made in a month trying to live on the boat.
Absolutely. The fact that we were both able to do it for hours at a time, and we don't have to tear down, we don't have to clean up. You know, it was ruining our day because it would be half a day of setup, half a day of tear down and clean up. There's no left of day to actually do the work. And it was a small tent, right? There wasn't room for 2 of us in there.
Right.
And now the whole boat is the tent, and there's room for all of us. First thing we had to do, now that the dogs are off the boat and we're not living on the boat, is prep for serious grinding. So after we completely tented the salon, we're ready for grinding. So we're going to go back to the RV, wake up fresh in the morning, and get to work. At like 11 o'clock at night, phone rings. It's the Coast Guard. So our EPIRB started going off in the middle of the night. Now I got to call the Coast Guard. They called me. And I told them I'd call them in the morning when I got to it. So, let's call the Coast Guard. I don't know how to make it stop going off. Maybe they can talk me through that. Search and rescue, please. Oh, okay. My name is Cade Moore. My EPIRB is going off, and they logged it last night, and I told them I'd call them when I got there in the morning. I don't know how to make it stop going off. The boat's not even in the water. Yeah. Do I need to put it back in the bracket? Oh, no kidding. Well, I'm so sorry. Yeah, we pulled it out because we're doing a lot of grinding in the boat right now, and I didn't want it on there, but okay.
So if you guys have one of these built-in EPIRBs like we do not remove it from the bracket or you'll be contacted by the Coast Guard. So you can remove it by pressing on this little tongue here and pulling out the EPIRB, and then there's a line that you can pull to activate it. But apparently just removing it from this little pocket will activate it. So we were called last night about midnight after we had left for the day, gone back to the RV and getting ready to go to bed, and they called us and said that our EPIRB was going off. So the reason was we just pulled it out of the pocket. Obviously the boat's not in the water at all, so there was no problem. But anyway, this EPIRB is original to the boat. It's ancient and needs to be replaced anyway, but it still works. So that's good news.
Thoroughly tested.
Thoroughly tested.
Thoroughly tested. And then we got to work. So, we had a week with the RV where there was one day of setting up our tent and the next 6 going at it. So we went at it. And that first day was brutal. It got 96 degrees outside, whatever that is, Celsius. That was outside. We have to turn the AC off. We had the boat open as much as we could, but it's still like a hot car. It was probably 120 degrees inside.
And we're in full suits, masks, and goggles. And by the way, Kate and I are both recovering from some sort of head cold that we've had. So if we sound a little bit off, if we look a little bit glassy-eyed, it's not because we're getting ready to break out in tears. It is because we've been a little bit sick and we're trying to get better. So
after that first day in which the heat got so bad, our GoPro failed. Our GoPro overheated while recording us. We lost not lost, but it stopped at a half a day. It was so hot. We went back to the RV crushed. Like, there's no possible way we can continue like this. This is brutal. So we got back to the RV about 5 o'clock.
About
Yeah.
normal work day.
Normal work day. Had a very light dinner and went to bed immediately. Immediately went to bed. Like 6:30. At 6:30 we're in bed. Because
we decided it would be better going forward if we got up at about 3 a.m. and head out to the boat and work while it's still dark outside. It's much cooler. We were working in conditions about 75 degrees or so. And nobody else lives in the boatyard where we're working, so we're not disturbing anybody in the middle of the night. We get out there, we do our thing, we grind away. And then along about 10 a.m. when it starts to warm up, we're heading back to the RV.
That worked out well. The second day of grinding was our first day of 3 a.m. to 10 a.m. And it was a different world. It was still hot. It's still sweaty, but we were not dying. Yeah, heat exhaustion, heat stroke, those are real things. It was a bad situation. The second day, it was night and day. We got so much done. Just that second day, we were like, oh, we can actually do this now. This is going to work. So that became our routine for the next 4 days. That was Thursday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and today is Sunday. That was our routine. Get up at 3 a.m., show up. the first thing we do is get any supplies that we need from the back of the boat. We can't go through the wall that we made in the salon, so we'd go through the back hatch into the back of the boat, grab clothes, supplies, whatever. Then we would set up the shop vac on the front again. We couldn't leave anything set up every afternoon for about an hour. It rains every afternoon, like 4 o'clock. So we have to secure the boat every day when we're done, close all the hatches, waterproof everything, so that we can leave the boat and it can rain. And then we would get to the grinding.
One of our viewers suggested putting baby powder on to cover up your pores so the fiberglass fibers don't get in your pores and cause itching. And I did not do that yesterday, although Cade did on his arms. But I noticed on my neck yesterday when we got back to the RV, it was really itchy. And my cheeks where the mask doesn't cover. So today I'm definitely going to try it and see if it works.
So I think that second night day, the center bilge was completely done. We ripped ripped several large chunks of tab that had been freed out of it, and that was it. So we moved on to the forward bilge.
as you can see in the forward bilge, we had a accidental gouging. But there's these spots of delamination. It's not that big a deal. There's a pretty layer and then a structural layer to the grid. That's just in the pretty layer on the outside. You can see, trying to come through some of that, little spots like that. We're down. The tab is completely off. All of that needs to get ground out, and all of this section in here. And then that corner and the tabs. But yeah, a little more delam right in this area here. Grind that down, get all of that out. And you can see right there, just a little bit of tab left that needs to come off. It's an awful lot of work, and Misha's doing most of it. She fits in this area better than I do. So, I guess, back to it. Okay, as you can see, we ground down those delamination spots, and they were actually like bubbles. Like there's voids here. So once that came off, that's a deep void. We didn't grind in like that. That just came off. So a lot of it was just little things, but some of it was not. You can see. We're going to pull down this a little more, but that's like a void. This was a big void. A bit of a void. A void there. So we're gonna fill that with structural epoxy and glass this whole face. We're gonna carve all that out too, but glass this whole face.
Of course, we're trying to film everything we're doing. And that takes its toll on the equipment. Our GoPro overheated and locked up, and we're not kind to it. We've been doing everything inside the dive case, which makes it even more insulated. We have a dive case for the GoPro. Never been diving. Storms, hurricanes, grinding. Never been diving.
We've used it for everything else. I can't wait to get to a point where we can actually use it for scuba diving.
Right? It's the grind case, not the dive case. So the middle bilge we were both able to work in. That forward bilge is very awkward in terms of its location. There's a couch there. If we had taken the whole couch out, it might have been easier, but it was just very tight and very difficult.
And there's a table there, and the bilge.
The compression post, yeah. Misha did.
And the bilge itself, the bilge itself is an odd shape with lots of tight angles, corners, and.
Right, because that's not like the middle bilge just has the keel well in it. That forwardmost bilge only has about this much keel well in it. Right, it comes to a point, and that's it. The rest of it is flat hull, and that's absolutely perfect to shape. So, Misha, with her diminutive stature, she's tiny. She did like 75% of the work up there. She was amazing. There's a lot of, everybody's heard of boat yoga. This is grinding boat yoga. It's the worst of the boat yogas.
I can see how it would be super exhausting for someone who doesn't fit in the space, because you do have to hold your body in a weird position, kind of contort yourself in ways that you're not used to, and all the while holding onto the grinder, which is bulky and heavy and vibrating, and so you're using a lot of muscles that you're not used to using, and it gets very uncomfortable really fast.
Yeah. So then we moved to the aftmost bilge. This is the one we've been kind of dreading. It's got a ton of hoses that actually run through the grid into it. And so this will take us a little longer. We're allowing a couple of days just for this one bilge because we can't just remove these hoses. They go through the grid to other locations. So we're going to be very delicate about it. The bottom of it has another shower sump box, right? Another piece of wood that's been glassed into it. So the first step was to cut that open. I knew something was wrong when I put the cutoff wheel into this, and unlike the other places where I've cut out pieces of wood, it felt hollow. Like it just, as soon as it got to the fiberglass, sank right through. It didn't look hollow. It looked like it had a piece of black wood in it.
It did.
But it was mud, sawdust. I couldn't believe.
Mulch.
It was mulch.
Mulch.
Right, literally it was like the black mulch that you buy at the hardware store. And we actually started grinding down the edges of that. Unbeknownst to us, the GoPro had seized up. It was still recording audio, but not video. So we didn't get much of that. But that's okay, because that's where this video ends. 90% of the grinding is done. All we have to do is remove the gel coat from this bilge and all of the tabs on the bottom. That there's very little cracks in this bilge itself, but we're not playing any games. We're removing all the tabs and retabbing all of this extra heavy. So next week there will be a little bit of grinding and some glassing. I can say that confidently now that we're getting to that point. Yay!
Finally. And hopefully, we've said that before and it hasn't happened.
Next week, we're going to have a professional fiberglass repair company come out and give us a consultation to make sure that we have ground everything properly and that the techniques we're going to be using for glassing are correct. And then glassing.
Thank you guys for watching. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the notification bell and follow us on social media. We're For Love of Wind. We're on Facebook and Instagram. See you guys next week.
Bye. All right.